Opening day is here. Let's go.
You are Locked On Cubs, your daily Chicago Cubs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Cubs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Alongside Sam Olber, I'm Matt Cozy. Sam and I are lifelong fans, taking our passion into a discussion with you on all things Cubs. Thank you for being part of the show and making us your first listen today. The best way you can help us grow the show is to listen or watch every day. Today's episode is presented by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Tuesday is opening day for the Cubs as they take on the Dodgers for the first of two games in the Tokyo series in Japan. We will preview both games in the second segment. We will be doing one more show before the game, though, so please join us at 6:30 p.m. Central Monday for the Locked On Cubs Hangouts. And if you want to join us live during the Hangout, the link to do so is in this episode description. Sam will be doing a watch party Tuesday morning, and we'll preview that more later as well. Well, this is an important season for the Cubs. You can make the case that this and next year is make or break. First with Jed Hoyer in the final year of his deal, key players going to free agency after this and next year, and possibly a third reason, the impending lockout in 27. Sam, the Cubs enter the season as the NL Central favorite. We've talked about it many times. And 6.5 months from now, dude, they need to be the team at the top of the standings.
It's the most important season. If you want to count 2021, because the first half was always going to determine what they were going to do with the core guys, but that's a different type of importance because I think we all knew at that point the writing was on the wall. It's the most important season in quite some time. And I'll start with this for my preview. You and I were just talking off the air that it's probably time for me to have a shave. My face is starting to get a little bit, and you're right. I might not shave until Kyle Tucker gets a base head, because I want to say this before we get to the preview. Last week, almost to the hour before Kyle Tucker hit his home run, I said, look, it doesn't matter. His at-bats are good, et cetera, et cetera. And yes. I still feel that way. I'm not concerned. Don't mistake this with concern. But I just want to say publicly, because honesty is the best policy when you have a show, I am now annoyed by Kyle Tucker's start to spring. Why? What's the difference, you ask? His at-bats were good in Arizona, and it was almost like he was just like, yeah, at-bats are fine, good process. He went 0 for 8 in Japan with a walk. On Sunday morning, his at-bats were not good. They were not competitive. He's now 1 for 31 in the spring. And I looked at his previous springs with Houston, and he had one really bad spring, and it was in 2022, which was his worst offensive year out of the big four. Still had an 808 OPS, but I'll tell you, Matt, I've done a lot of shows, a lot of segments on this. 808 OPS is not good enough this year for Kyle Tucker. And one of the reasons why this season is so important is because you traded Cody Bellinger, essentially, Isaac Paredes, and Cam Smith to go get this guy in a win now mode. And I'll say one more thing about this, Matt, because we've talked about this, but I just want to say it, officially. We've talked about on this show how it's really a nice job by Jed to spend less money but still put together a better team. Mm-hmm. The whole reason he was able to do that is because of Kyle Tucker. Cody Bellinger went out. That's $25 million. Paredes goes out. That's $31 million. You replace that with Tucker. That's $17 million. You saved $14 million. Their payroll right now is about $215. Last year was about $230. What's the difference? The difference is the $14 that you saved with Kyle Tucker, who's better than those guys. He needs to perform. Oh. I am not concerned. If this was around the horn, you'd be giving me a lot of points.
A ton, maybe even close to double digits already.
I watched that show for the first time, maybe in about a decade the other day.
I just think I'll start tuning in towards the end here as well.
I want to say this. I'm not concerned yet, but I think it would be really good for him to see something in basketball terms go through the hoop in Japan. Couple of base hits, maybe a homer, because he's human too. And he's playing for $300-400 million in a new city. And, you asked me a question about how important the season is, and I didn't answer it, but it's a really important season, and he's a huge reason why. Jed, of course, but Kyle Tucker to me is just as big as, if not anything else, and I'm just getting a bit annoyed.
Around the Horn last episode this May, a generation of podcasters who grew up on that hour block Around the Horn and PTI on ESPN. No, he is absolutely the lead, and I like the framing or the packaging that you just went through first with the trade. I hadn't heard that before, but it makes sense, and I think we should come back to that. Hopefully, not that much because it probably means Kyle Tucker's doing well.
Yeah,
They traded Bellinger, Paredes, Wisniewski, and Smith for Tucker.
Essentially, yep.
Yeah, and if you could, if you want to get creative, you can say they sent that prospect, to Houston as well, and they got Tucker and Presley. But
right,
he's the big name. He's one of the top 15 players in the game. If the Cubs get production from a top 15 player, they should be just fine. And so, when you asked me off the air about what segment to put Tucker in, it's this one.
Yeah.
Why would we wait?
Yep.
He's the guy. He's the dude. And so
yeah,
I understand your concern now because it's not like, oh, he's 0 for 12.
It's not concern, though. It's not concern. I'm not concerned. I don't want because I'm just I've
agitation.
Those are the words.
Okay, but it has been 3 full weeks of this now, and so it's definitely something on not only on the radar, but I would say and then some prior to first pitch Tuesday morning. And you're talking about finances there. That is another reason why I think Craig Counsell could be a key to all this year. Hoyer in the last year of his deal, whatever he's making, Counsell has 4 years and $32 million left. If Counsell has whatever power he has in this current structure, he better wield it this year.
For sure.
And I believe he had major influence on who was signed for the bench, who was signed for the bullpen. What is going to impact the Cubs' march to 85 plus wins en route to the division? It's Tucker, it's Counsell, it's how the starting rotation levels out. It's the reshaped bullpen, and it's really the young nucleus. If they could take a next step, how does that fit all into this as well?
I agree. I think too, when you look at the Tucker thing, how many times in his career do you think he's had a 1 for 30? This isn't a typical thing.
I think it's probably a handful, like 4 or 5.
I think it might be less. 1 for 30,
less. Yeah.
1 for 30 is no joke.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. I agree with you. I think the importance of this season is obvious. It's obvious because
it's right there for us.
If you want to go worst case, and let's say it doesn't go well, let's say this team is an 83-79 team that finishes 9 out of the division. When you bring in a new GM, he could have, or she could have the assumption of, hey, all right, well, this isn't working. Like, let's start it over again. You never know. So I shouldn't say new GM, new president of baseball ops, but if you win 90 plus this year, you win the division, you kind of guarantee that doesn't happen again. So there's a lot at stake here. There's a lot at stake, and I feel it. I feel like it's a big season. It feels different than the previous 2 opening days that we've covered. 2023 felt like this could be fun. 2024 was like, they probably should win this, but I don't know. This is ugh. Yeah. And 2025, I feel it. I feel the difference covering the team.
Absolutely. Well, first 2 games this week. We're going to preview those 2 matchups in full right after this.
This episode is brought to you by Wonderful Pistachios. Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. Personally, I love the no shells variety. It's the perfect grab and go snack for busy days. Right here, and I've upgraded to the bigger bag, I have the chili roasted flavor that I have been loving for quite a while now. I'm a grazer throughout the day, guys. I don't have time for a full meal in the middle of work. So if I'm in between meetings or equipment runs, these little green wonders pack the protein punch I need to get me through the day. And I can't recommend the chili roasted kind enough. It is absolutely packed with flavor. So get snacking and get cracking with a snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more.
Cubs and Dodgers first 2 games of the season at 5:10 a.m. Central Tuesday and Wednesday. Sam is hosting a watch party exclusively on our YouTube channel on Tuesday, and if they win, he claims he'll do the same on Wednesday. Both games will be on Marquee and 670 The Score. First game will also be on Fox, second on FS1. Shota Imanaga and Yoshinobu Yamamoto in Game 1. Justin Steele, Roki Sasaki in Game 2. Cubs have limited samples against Yamamoto and none against Sasaki, who will be making his major league debut in his home country. Tommy Edman and Max Muncy at home runs off Imanaga last year. However, the big three of Ohtani, Betts, and Freeman went a combined 1 for 15. Some news here to report. Mookie Betts is officially questionable for this series. The last game he played in was over a week ago now on Sunday in Arizona, last Sunday. And he came down with the flu early last week and did participate in a workout on Sunday at the Tokyo Dome, but only lasted about 15 or 20 minutes. And manager Dave Roberts was more pessimistic in his last media availability. So that's something to watch prior to actually getting the season underway on Tuesday. Sam, where do you want to start here? Because there's a 2-game package, only 1% of the season, but the buzz it's worthy of the buzz and the hype, just given the situation, all the Japanese players, and this weekend I know helped me with the exhibitions. It's just a very cool scene there.
Yeah, it is. It's a much better atmosphere than the typical the typical Japanese, the typical American baseball game. It's very sharp. They're locked in. I like the way they cheer with the first pitch and things like that. I think previewing this series is it starts with the pitching. FanDuel right now has the Dodgers at -154 on Tuesday, which on a neutral field is a significant number, but they're the Dodgers, so I'm not surprised. Goes down to -146 as of right now on Wednesday, which makes the Cubs +130 and +124 respectively those 2 days, which seems about the right number. And based off of those odds, the Cubs should find a way to win 1 game, and that's the goal here. I'm glad that you mentioned Tommy Edman, because to me, he's the guy to watch, especially on Tuesday. You mentioned Betts. Maybe he plays, maybe he doesn't. I guess he does. But Ohtani, Freddie, Mookie. The good news with Imanaga and Steele is that with Freddie and Ohtani, you neutralize them a bit because, you're going left on left. But one of the reasons why Tommy Edman was such a crucial get by the Dodgers is he is truly an elite hitter from the right side of the plate. When he faces righties from the left side of the plate, he's an 8-9 hitter. But when he flips over and hits righty versus lefties, he has been an elite guy. And he's a real good fastball hitter. He's a real good hitter up in the zone. And we all know that Imanaga features that. And I don't think it's a coincidence that he got Shota twice in LA last year. So that's the guy outside of the obvious three guys. That's the guy that I'm most concerned about, neutralizing him. And then I think for me going into it, how am I going to feel mentally if the Cubs have a 1, 2, or 3 run lead late? Because I just haven't liked what I've seen out of Porter Hodge this spring, 93, 94, walking guys, not getting a ton of offers on his breaking ball. We had Joe on Thursday for Friday, and he already named Ryan Stressly. So that concerned me a little bit. So, how are we going to feel? Because when I look at this series, as you said, it's such a small part of the season. The only way I leave when the Cubs leave Japan and I'm frustrated is if we give away a game. Because it doesn't matter what part of the season you're in, as I talked about on Friday, when you are in position to win. I think the number is when you lead after 7, you win like 91% of the time in baseball. So when you lead after 7 and then you lose, especially against a team like that, it isn't just there's still 162. No, there isn't, because now that's one less game you're going to be in position to win. It's really hard to get in position to win. It's really hard to win in baseball. And by the way, with the Tucker situation, it's not a 162 game season, because by the trade deadline, you need to be in a good position or he will be probably moved if you're 5, 6, 7 games out to save face with that trade. So those games, when you get yourself in a position to beat an elite team like the Dodgers, you have to finish the job. So we'll see what happens. I think the Cubs are in a good position to win one of these games.
Well, whatever the combinations are on the mound, I think the Cubs' plan for victory includes. I do think it includes more relievers on the day Steele pitches, especially if Imanaga is efficient. So when we're discussing, entering that last 6 to 9 outs, who's going to be in there or when, I think especially if Imanaga is efficient, how long or how many innings can he cover if he goes 75? Whereas Steele, I think he's probably going to be closer to 65. So really curious how they go from the starter to Presley. One combination that I played around with was maybe if they do sort of a piggyback situation. I guess what I'm trying to get to is I am intrigued this series by Brad Keller and Nate Pearson.
Me too.
Just because they could pitch 2, maybe even 3. What if in the first game Imanaga goes 5, Keller goes 3, Presley goes 1? The Presley's not available the next day most likely, but there's still a fleet of guys that are on the card. And so that's something that I'm keeping close watch for. Seems like Seiya's going to bat second, and they're going to go Hap, Seiya, Tucker.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe not. Maybe it's
today.
Hap,
Today
Tucker,
was different.
Seiya.
Today was different, so who knows?
Gage Workman started at second base on Sunday morning. Is he a candidate to start there?
One of them.
One of these games instead of John Birdie, or do they split the games? Matt Shaw, does he split with Workman at third? And I think somebody that, if I had to give a bold prediction, given the momentum of his spring, I would say Michael Busch and Pete Crow-Armstrong are 2 names that I would take to do something impactful in these 2. And so, curious about the pitching combos. And, as much as I would like to say I'd like the Cubs to score first, I just want to see a good game. If they have opportunities, with a runner on second, less than 2 outs, they got to get that guy home. If they have a guy on third, less than 2 outs, healthy fly ball, I think station to station might be, especially in the later part of the game, something we see Or could they go the more aggressive route and Council does put guys in motion and things like that? So, especially in a bigger ballpark.
Yeah, I think for me, it's I think Workman's going to start one of the two games. I think he was going to start one of them either at third, and now I've opened the possibility of second, especially because you're facing two really, really difficult righties.
Mhm.
And so I think he'll slide in one of those for sure. And yeah, I mean, let's see what happens. I think one win, and then reset is definitely the goal here.
So Dodgers are minus 154. What would you say as we monitor betting markets throughout the year? What is like a big favorite in baseball for
My yeah,
when you look at that?
minus 154 on a neutral field against a team like the Cubs is pretty significant. But anytime you're in the high 190s, over 200, like if this game was at Dodger Stadium, they'd probably be like minus 178.5, minus 180. But anytime you see anything over like minus 200 in baseball, that's pretty staggering.
Okay, so if it was minus 150 in LA, they wouldn't be that much of a favorite.
Yeah, that's minus 150 at home is not a huge number.
Not a big one.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, because they give a little bit. Like minus this number minus 154 is a pretty fair number, I think.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Coming up next, we previewed those two games. Let's get in more some individual players right after this.
This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Folks, if you're anything like me and you're not a big cook, you live alone, you spend way too much money on delivery services and takeout, Monarch Money is for you. It'll help you budget smarter and save more. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off, half off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year.
Factors for the series, Cubs Dodgers at the Tokyo Dome. First, the bench players, Sam, for the Cubs. I wanted to go through options there because Carson Kelly does sound like he's going to catch Justin Steele Wednesday, and he might catch Justin Steele, the whole year. Justin Turner, pinch hitter against a lefty reliever. Gage Workman, pinch hitter against a righty. And then we just mentioned last segment, could start at third or second either day. So where does that leave John Birdie? Right? John Birdie, respectfully, he's someone who it's like, let's not notice him this week. If his name comes up, that means he did something amazing or really wrong that proves to be detrimental.
Yeah.
We really shouldn't talk about him this week. And so if we do, hopefully he really shocks the whole baseball universe. Vidal Brujan is likely going to be active for this game, both games. How is he used as a pinch runner for Amaya or Kelly both of the days? So I wanted to start there.
Yeah, I like Birdie more than you do. He'll start one of them. And hopefully, his job is when he gets on base to do something, a little hit and run or move a guy, be a difference maker. So, he'll start a game. But yeah, listen, if the guy goes 3 for 4 and he wants to be the lead Tuesday after the game, by all means.
Right.
That'd
be crazy.
I think the X factor for me, first of all, Carson Kelly, Council has basically made it clear this is a 50-50 catching situation. I think Amaya will get the opening day. But with Amaya's struggles, and man, were they on full display Friday evening in Japan, throwing out runners. There is a chance Carson Kelly becomes the 3 out of 5 day starter with this group because he's looked pretty competent offensively, and we talked about it. Like the Cubs are, I think the Cubs have graduated from, hey, well, you know what? If it's a little bit worse of a fit, let's develop Amaya. I think they're past that because of the importance of this season. And I think if Amaya really struggles there, now the Dodgers don't run a whole lot, so this might not be a bad matchup for him. The Dodgers typically like to just get a guy on and wait for someone to hit a ball about 612 feet. But, in different matchups, I mean, you talked about it, Brewers, Cincinnati. One of my bold predictions that I left off when we did that show was that Carson Kelly takes the job.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but I didn't end up doing it. So because still taking the catcher job these days, you're still not playing every day. So I'm looking forward to watching him catch a game. X factors for me, X factors is a tricky term. I mean, I've thought about it. Like Kyle Tucker, that's my X factor. I really think he needs to have a good couple of games, and I'm looking there. I'm really excited. Like what I'm most excited for is to watch PCA and Matt Shaw. Like Shaw had another 2-run single today, a walk. Like he hasn't gotten an extra base hit yet, but his at bats, he just looks like he's just. If you had to guess what year he was in just based off of his at bats, you would not think that he hasn't completed a major league game yet. And it's cool because this is his first major league at bat. So I expect Foley to get a baseball for Matt Shaw in one of these 2 games in Japan. And he'll get his first major league hit, get that out of the way early. I don't expect it to take as long as it took PCA. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if it happened the first time he's in the box, against Yamamoto. So I'm really excited to watch those 2 guys. And I'm excited. I'm excited, and I'm also a little bit nervous isn't the right word, but just like anxious, like because it's just such a weird experience. It's not normal. And then doing the first game with a watch along at 5 a.m. Like I'm just very curious to see what my emotions will be like. It's going to be dark out. It's the first game of the year. Make sure the Wi-Fi, all that stuff's good, and then kind of lock in and realize, hey, like this is opening day. Like this is by far the biggest game I've ever done a watch along. I've probably done like 8 or 9 of them. And this one this is
not even close.
Yeah. This is like really significant. So I have like a big game sort of feel,
Absolutely. And I want to ask you more about that in a minute. The other person I would want to mention is Julian Merriweather.
He's been amazing.
Especially with Porter Hodge struggling. Caleb Thielbar looks like, he might be trending one way or another. So Merriweather really against either side of the plate. What situation does he enter the game in? How many outs does he get? Could he even be a 6-out guy? So that's someone I'm looking for as a possible X factor as well. So the next time we're on the air actually isn't going to be Sam's watch party, but it's going to be close. It's only going to be really a few hours later. We are going to be live 6:30 p.m. Monday, and we're trying this for the first time where we publicly send out the link to join us. So again, that's in the episode description right now. We'll see if we promote that on socials or not, but I think it's going to be more exclusive to if you're listening right now. We'd love for you to join us, a few minutes per person Monday nights. I think we'll kick it off ourselves, Sam, for a few minutes and then pretty much turn it over to the listeners. This will be probably one of the last times we do this in a while, would be my guess. Maybe we do this again towards Memorial Day or something like that, where we have listeners on. It's always a good time. The last time was the holiday party. Those are always just really, really special. So hang out with us Monday night, hang out with Sam Tuesday morning, and then we will be doing our regular episode right after the game Tuesday as well. Anything else?
Yeah, here's the watch party thumbnail.
Yes. And who can we give a shout out to for that?
Yeah,
Jake P. Jake P. Thanks, Jake. Appreciate that. Looks good. And I had that in the YouTube queue already. So that's official. That's going out there.
Yeah. So
thank
you good time. Good time.
So much for checking out this episode. The opening day episode. Wow. Yeah. Our third opening day. Yeah, this one is way, way different. And for good reason. We're here 5 days a week talking about all things Cubs. So stay with us from now through September, talking all things Cubs. All right. Join us again Monday night, and then we'll be back with you, watch party and regular show on Tuesday morning. He's Sam Olber. I'm Matt Cozy, and you are now Locked On Cubs.
Go Cubs.
See ya.